Well, thanks for joining me today as we discuss CTE program evaluation. I'm Adrian Knight, the CTE coordinator here at Region 7 Education Service Center. My phone number is 903-988-6810. I will share that with you again at the end of the webinar, but that way you can also write it down now if you happen to have some pencil and paper handy. And anything and all that you need to visit with me about concerning CTE, please do not hesitate to call. Again, my number 903-988-6810, or you can always email me at aknight@esc7.net. We're going to go ahead and get started. And those of you that know me that have been to several of my sessions, you know that I keep pretty much everything in live binders. And so I'm going to show you how to access those if you go to the Region 7 homepage, just esc7.net. And then we'll go under the departments, we'll go to federal programs, over to career and technical education. That takes you to the CTE homepage. And if you scroll down right above my contact information, you'll see the link to some printable resources that you can download and print and use however you would like within your district, and then also the link to the CTE live binders. And when we get there, you'll notice there is more information here other than just CTE. And we will scroll down to the CTE program evaluation live binder. That is what we will be working out of today. And so as we go through here, we're going to start off. First of all, we know that program evaluations are required according to the Carl Perkins Act, and there is the legislation. If you need some documentation about why you need to do a program evaluation, there you have the proof. We're going to go ahead and jump right in, and we'll look at PBMAS reports. Can be a big part of your program evaluation. This is a link to the TEA website where you can pull up the report for your district. If you want to pull up your district report, you can pull it in there. Again, choose what year, and then you can either go and pull up your report by district number, you're using your county district number, or by your district name, and you can pull those in and take a look at that. Let me go back, and I'm going to pull up our region report just so we can kind of take a look at the actual report so you see the information that is included. You'll know that you notice that here on the first page, again, we're looking at STAR scores, bilingual education, your ASL students, LEP, all that information. And as we go across, you'll see the cut points for a performance level 0. Now, the performance levels on PBMAS, it's kind of like playing golf. The lower the score, the better it is. So if you have a 0 or none at all, that's great. Hopefully we got a 0. Those that are above 0, the higher the number goes, the more or the greater concern that area should be in our district. So we can look at the state passing rate. Here is the region rate. On your report, it'll have your district rate, so you can kind of see how your district compares to the state in those areas. And then as you go across all the way over on the right-hand side, you're going to have your performance level for those particular indicators. Now, the second page of the report is where we get into the CTE information. In CTE courses, again, because we are looking at high school students, it's going to be passing rates on those EOC tests. And these first 4 indicators are the data pool that they're pulling from are your students that are coded as a CTE concentrator, meaning that their PEIMS code is a 2 in the 0, 1, and 2 frame of things on your PEIMS report. These would be your CTE code 2 students that they are using as their pool for collecting this information. So we look at the EOC passing rate for all of your CTE code 2 students, math, science, social studies, and English. Again, the performance level cut, so if you're above 60%, your performance level should be a 0. Again, over on the far right-hand side, you'll see your performance level. The English language arts scores were for report only this particular year, so you should see that show up on your report. As we work our way down, of course, that's all. The first indicator is all of your CTE students. Then your second indicator is your limited English proficient students that are in CTE, again coded CTE 2s, and then economically disadvantaged, and your special ed CTE code 2 students. The same cut points as you go across, and just like in the first page, you'll see a state rate, and then you'll see how your district compared to that, and then the performance level. You see other indicators as we work our way down: the annual dropout rate, diploma rate, graduation rate, and then those non-traditional course completion rates. If you have an indicator greater than 0 on that non-traditional area, I do offer a session addressing those challenges and improving that non-traditional course completion rate for males and females. So you may want to look that up. Also, some of those printable resources that I showed you, that link on our CTE homepage, those address some challenges for improving your completion rates for those non-traditional CTE courses. Basically what it is, in order to qualify as a non-traditional occupation or non-traditional course, that uh, that portion of the workforce, for instance, if it's a non-traditional or if it's an occupation that is non-traditional for females, that means that less than 25% of the workforce in that occupation is female. If it's an occupation that's non-traditional for males, then likewise, less than 25% of the workforce are males in that particular occupation or in these courses that lead to those occupations. And so in the PBMAS manual, it does have a list of the CTE courses that fall into non-traditional, male and female. So you may want to take a look at that. Also in the PBMAS manual, it has all of the formulas and explains in great detail how these numbers are calculated and which ones are included, where they get their data from. So that may be something you want to take a look at. And I have a link to the PBMAS manual right here, so you can pull that up. Again, it takes you to the TEA page that has the PBMAS manuals on it. That way you don't have to search for it every year. If you bookmark this page, then every year you can go back to it, and as you see, they just add the PBMAS manuals to that page. So there's a link there that you can use. When we get into, again, looking at program review, we can I have several different resources here. None of these are meant to be here, use this document to evaluate your CTE program. It's this Everything that I'm presenting today is meant to be, okay, here's a collaboration of resources. You can go in here, or a collection of resources, go in here, kind of pick and choose, maybe take one of these documents and customize it. It's to show you all the different things that you should look at, or that you could possibly look at to evaluate how your CTE program is doing right now, where it's at right now, establishing goals for the future of your CTE program, and then how are you going to get there, and creating a plan to get there. So don't take any of this as being, oh, I've got to use this particular format or this particular document, but kind of pick and choose and put pieces together to form an instrument that'll work for you. So if we look at some of these different sub tabs here underneath the administration tab, some district data that you might possibly want to look at, some of the different PEIMS reports, looking at those CTE students by sex, ethnicity, and courses, your CTE courses, your CTE students by indicator code, those zeros, ones, and twos, are those coded correctly? Some of your CTE budgets, taking a look at your master schedules. What are the class counts in each particular class period? If students have the option of a late arrival or early release, is that hurting your enrollment in some of those areas? Could you possibly increase, if you stopped offering that, although it might be a hard sell, but would that be in the best interest for the students and to provide them more opportunities through the CTE courses? Some counselor and administrator interview questions, some possibilities there that you may want to put out. I could see these, obviously you could print these off on a piece of paper and give them to somebody as a hard copy, or um, put it in a Google Doc and send it out as a survey or in SurveyMonkey and have them respond to it that way, and then collect all of the replies. So that is a document that's got district data. You'll also know this little tab right here, the Word document. You can download it as a Microsoft Word instrument and then go in there and make some changes so that way you can modify it and customize it to your district. Of course, the program effectiveness report, those of you that have been around CTE, if you're a CTE director or administrator, you've probably filled out one or more of these. You fill it out once a year. If you are accepting Perkins money, and you notice you go through there, this far right column, the evidence. What evidence do you use to back up if you answered yes to these questions? Where is that evidence located? What does it look like? Just a short couple of lines, or maybe 2 or 3 sentences explaining what that evidence is. If you are a new CTE administrator or new to CTE in general and you're trying to figure out, I don't even know where to go look, if you go back in the e-grant system through the TEA website, your past program effectiveness reports are archived in there. You can pull those up, and I'm not going to encourage you to go in there and copy the sections word for word. However, you might be able to read through there and at least look and see where your predecessor was gathering the data from, what were they using for evidence, and then you'll have a place where you can go look. This CTE action plan, let me scroll down here so it'll pull up on your screen, and you'll notice it could be very similar to a campus improvement plan. What are the recommendations? Who's going to be that responsible party? What's the timeline? This recommendation, you may want to put something in there that's obviously measurable so you know if you're making progress, or you may want to take it and add another column over here on the side about how are you going to know when you get to where it's supposed to be, or how you're going to know that you're making progress. Again, a Word document form of this document, so that way you can go in and make some changes there. Method of administration review. This is what used to be known as the program access review. The guidance document is here for easy location for you. So if you want to download that, usually that method of administration, that would be when a TEA would come out and visit you. There are very few districts that actually have that happen. However, if you happen to be one of those that is getting a visit this year, that's why it's here. So that way you have it, have easy access to it, you know where you can get it. The indicator reference guide, again, just another resource for this to help you prepare for the visit, and it goes through and outlines in great detail what it is they would be looking for and what the possible documentation is, where you would have that or where you should have that. And you can just kind of work your way down through here as you prepare for one of those visits, or as you gather that information. They may actually do kind of a desk audit type, where they will just ask you for this kind of documentation, and you will send in electronic versions of it. If you happen to, again, get chosen for one of those. We've only had about 2 or 3 in the last couple of years here in Region 7, so it's not something that we see very often. The architectural barriers checklist. This is something, again, that is used during that methods of administration or program access review. And it's just about going in and checking your facilities, and are all of your facilities accessible to all of your students, especially as it pertains to the requirements for the Americans with Disability Act. And you'll notice it depends on when your building was built. In Region 7, we have several very historically significant schools, very historically significant buildings on campuses. And so some of these may have some age on them. And where do they fall in this timeline? What are the requirements for that particular building? And it could be things such as checking the slope on your ramps, and checking to make sure you have handicap doorknobs, or doorknobs that are easily used by um, students with disabilities. Or what about the faucets in your restrooms, and are the water fountains the correct height? All kinds of items like that that you may want to go through and check, and you may want to check on a regular basis, just as a best practice. Again, the Word document, so you can go in and add your documentation directly into that form. The next tab we want to take a look at is the Advisory Committee tab up there along the top. You'll notice two sub-tabs inside there: the CTE Advisory Committee Manual. Really a great document. If you're new to having an advisory committee, I would definitely spend some time going through this. And whether you're the kind that, if you want to print it off, you can certainly download it and do so, and make notes in it and highlight and do whatever you want to do. Let me scroll back up. We'll take a look at the contents. As you look through here, what exactly is that advisory committee? Why are they needed? What do they do? And then it goes through the steps for forming that advisory committee. I really feel like if you're new to CTE, or maybe you've been working with CTE for a while, but your campus hasn't had an advisory committee, or it's an inactive committee, take this document and go through there. And or if you'd like, I could come out and visit with you on your campus, and we could go through it together and brainstorm some ideas and paint that picture of what this advisory committee should look like on your campus, and what it could look like on your campus, and how it will benefit your CTE program overall. But really a super document in my opinion. And as you scroll through here, just examples of uh, what all you would need, and how you could have it set up. Um, some sample documents when we get down towards the back of it, that would be very useful. And again, just a great resource as you begin work or continue work, and try to increase the effectiveness of that advisory committee with your CTE program. The business partner tab, there we go. It's just kind of a survey that you would use at the end of the year. Again, for your advisory committee, part of that, or maybe a big part of that, is going to be business partners that come in and actually give you advice about what is needed in the workforce, what's needed for their business, or maybe some of the other businesses that they collaborate with or visit with on a regular basis. You may have members of the or representatives from the Economic Development Corporation on your advisory committee, Chamber of Commerce, something like that, somebody that can share that information and get you some business partners to participate on your advisory committee. And then at the end of the year, take a survey. Ask them how they feel the year went. Ask them, get some ideas for how you can make it better the next year. Just kind of tap their brain a little bit. Again, you can print it off and use it as a hard copy here. You'll notice again the Word document, you can download it, change it, customize it however you want. Put it into a Survey Monkey or a Google form and send it out, and collect the responses electronically, and then you can have them in the spreadsheet format and analyze them, and do whatever you would like to with them. But just again, another piece of just a document that you can use, another resource for you as you evaluate your CTE program. The non-discrimination reminder, of course, that needs to go out before the beginning of the school year in August, and we do have the statement in English and Spanish. You can post it on your website, maybe put it in a local newspaper, and make sure student handbook, wherever, um, course selection guide, always have that posted out there in front of the public. Some program-specific resources, we'll go through these one by one. You'll notice there are several of them. Here, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. We'll start with agriculture education. And as you go through these particular documents, you'll notice that you can kind of see where we're going here. We're going to have some different evaluation tools that are here that you may choose to use. And we go through here and you start off, you see the quality indicators, and it'll have a statement and then different explanations underneath those ratings. And so whoever is completing this, they would rate your CTE program in this particular area. It's a very lengthy, detailed document. You may, again, as I mentioned earlier, you may not just want to pull it off and use this specific one, but you may want to take it and modify it. I like the fact that underneath each of these ratings that it has some sort of an explanation. You may want to go in there and fine-tune those so that they are more representative of your program specifically. But instead of just having a 0 through 4 scale, have some sort of explanation up there that kind of paints a picture in the person's mind what exactly that would look like. You know, what does a 2 look like? What versus a 4 or a 0? And so that way they can tell, instead of just you kind of paint the picture for them. You have that opportunity, instead of, because in their mind, their 2 may be significantly different from what your 2 is. So just kind of make sure everybody's on the same page with those and include those descriptions. As you notice, we scroll through here and there are plenty of questions, statements to choose from, different areas in which you can get a rating for your program. I'm not going to read through all those. You can look through that on your own, or print this document out, however, whatever you feel would work best. It has some forms that you can use to collect recommendations. It's a glossary. There's a very detailed document for your ag program. Go to a welding program, and if you're working towards offering a welding certification, this might have some information on it on this particular website that you want to look at, your facility accreditation, and you may want to look at some of these if that is what your goal is. If you want to offer that welding certification there on site on your campus, read through these and see what's going to be required as far as facilities go. Then you may have to go back and still look at the instructor side of it, but start with the facilities. Do you have facilities that'll fit that description and are on par with what you would need? But just a whole lot of different links and information on this particular website when you're looking at developing a welding program. The applicable standards for building construction, some links that will go in, kind of going back to that access review that we looked at just a few minutes ago, and making sure that if you're going to be starting some new construction, you want to make sure and take a look at these and make sure that it's going to fit all those applicable standards. For an automotive, if you want to offer those ASE or NATEF certifications, again, we come back to that accreditation part of it. And here you see the different areas that are available, depending on which one you're thinking about offering. So you may want to, again, take a look at that before you just jump off and either start building or start renovating. See how your facilities are going to, what's going to be required to pursue those certifications before you even, make the first move on any type of construction or renovation. CNA program, a lot of schools offering CNA certifications or something in that health science field. If you're interested in that CNA certification, there's an FAQ document. You may want to take a look at this, gather some information here um, from the answers to these questions, but then also you'll notice several of these are hyperlinked, and you can get more information by following those links on that page. Cosmetology, we do have a few of those in Region 7, and so you can look through. A lot of this is the legal documentation for a cosmetology program, because that license is uh, the board that issues those certifications is the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. So therefore, you've got to follow the standards that are in the state law and state guidelines. So all that information is in this particular document. Also, the administrative rules are here for cosmetology. Again, you notice here, Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation is the governing body for these certifications and licenses. For culinary arts, this document is from the Texas Restaurant Association. And as you again look through here, it will ask you to look at what type of program is it that you're wanting to establish, or are you wanting to tweak your program to fall into one of these types of programs. So you can read up on that and take a look at that and see, kind of get an idea which direction you want that program to go. Gives you some ideas for curriculum enhancement in those particular areas, how you can maximize your program's potential, enhance that environment. You'll notice here these are, it gives you recommendations for some commercial equipment, some a list of major equipment that you might possibly need, or at least if you're starting from scratch. And I'm not going to tell you that you would need every single one of these, but this might kind of give you an idea and a ballpark estimate of what the cost might be. Obviously, when you're starting something like this, check with schools in Region 7, give me a call, and I know a few schools that have recently started up culinary arts or have revamped their culinary arts program, and I'll be more than happy to share the names of those districts with you. Go visit with them, see what type of equipment they have. This is a very long list and probably way more than what you really need. So I encourage you always to go visit with other schools, see what they're doing. You would probably able to get that list of must-haves from them. But again, just a place to start so you get an idea of what you might be looking at in that particular area. Facility standards and checklist. If you already have a program up, you may want to go in and follow this checklist, look at that commercial equipment and see if that is what you actually have. Let's take a look at health science technology when we are doing a program evaluation in that area. You'll notice that this one here gives you a recommendation of who should complete the program evaluation, and this may be something obviously not limited to just health science technology. It could be all the CTE programs. You may want to have a team that consists of people in these positions to give you some input and assist with that program evaluation. Another form, again with having the scale over here, gives you a little bit of a description up here as far as what those indicators actually mean. You may want to add some to that and go into a little more detail. What exactly does a 3 look like? What does a 2 look like? So forth, like I mentioned before. Again, some more information. You could take this document, customize it, not just to your district, but also possibly to other CTE programs within your district. NCCER, if you're working on construction certifications and are going to go through NCCER, there are some applications that you would have to fill out and file with that particular governing body. And then you have the self-assessment tool. Also, if you're doing the NCCER, any of those construction certifications through them. And the Trade and Industry Facility Guide. This is, if you'll notice right here, it's a 123-page document. A lot of information, covers several different program areas. If we just look at the table of contents, you'll notice communication and media, construction, electronic, all the way down. Again, several different, didn't mean to click on that and throw us off. Wanted to stay up there at the top. Let's see if it'll let me go back. There we are. And let's continue looking at that table of contents. So you'll see all these different areas. Work-based learning, that would be information that would apply to career prep or practicum courses, so you may want to take a look at that and look at those resources as far as evaluating those particular areas. So a lot of information under this tab. This is that program specific resources. Go through here, do some checking and see if you have a program in an area that's not listed here. You might be able to take some of these documents here and customize them and tweak them a little bit and make them fit whatever program area you do offer. You notice the next tab up here is all aspects of an industry. Part of the Perkins grant is that we do share all aspects of an industry with students, and so this particular document just kind of gives some ideas about what it is that you would look for. What is, when we think about all aspects of what are all aspects of an industry? You know, if you're not directly involved with that industry, sometimes it's hard to know what those different aspects are. So in this one here, you see some of the topics that can be discussed, have information that you take some of these topics and research them, and then share information with students in order to help them understand a particular industry from all different angles. Some justifications for covering all of them, but then again, here you have some sample instructional topics that you may want to have your teachers look at, and maybe they need to do some research on the industry that the courses they teach are tied to, and the work site experience. Again, going back to your career prep or practicum courses, this could even be a student tour. Maybe you help your teachers get tours into businesses and facilities and that illustrate and where those students get to see what they're learning in class actually being used, and not just look at understanding how the skills they're learning in class are used, but then take a look at some of the different aspects that are involved in that particular business or industry. So again, just a kind of a guidance document here, but share it with your teachers. Look over it and see where it might fit in your CTE program. Share it with your teachers. Ask them to go over it. This could possibly be a document that can be shared with them, and give them some PLC time. Maybe this is one of those documents that they look at during an in-service day. Sometimes CTE, it's kind of hard to find spots for those CTE teachers to fit. Give them half a day or a full day and let them talk about all aspects of the industry. Let them do some brainstorming. I find that if you get several of them together, usually those best ideas will come just from them being in the same room and sharing information and bouncing ideas off each other. So if at all possible, give your teachers that particular opportunity. Target and demand occupations. This is a link to Workforce Solutions East Texas website where you can download the latest target occupations list and demand occupations list for the East Texas area. And you can pull them down or download them, print them off. I hate that when you pull them up, it's for doing a webinar and for our purposes right here, it's kind of inconvenient because it always needs to be rotated 90 degrees, and so it's kind of tough. So just for a little bit here, if you want to tilt your head or turn your computer screen or whatever the case may be. But you kind of see the demand occupation job title, all the way the job projections out to the year 2020, what the number change is, what the growth rate is going to be, and the number of annual job openings, and how many of those job openings are due to growth and how many are due to replacement. So some hourly wages and then preferred education. So as you go through here, it's kind of interesting to look at some of the preferred education on these. You'll see a lot of on-the-job training listed for these on the demand occupation list. When we look at the target occupations list, the print on that one's a little bit smaller, but basically the same information as far as job projections out to 2020, the preferred education, everything that you saw in the other one. This Texas Workforce Commission report on Texas growth occupations, again, another great document full of good information on workforce and labor demands. This was put out in 2014. That goes through all the several of the different industries in Texas, and so go through here, look at this, share this information with teachers. If you have teachers that are working in these particular areas, you see the different occupations here. Some of the same information that we just saw on those targeted and demand occupations list. Here's the manufacturing industry. What teachers do you have teaching courses that are tied to that? Your ag and forestry, healthcare, education industry. There's your transportation and warehousing. So find those industries that cover the courses that you offer, the different programs in your CTE areas at school, and share that information with your teachers. Have your teachers share the information with their students. So that way we end up with students that are better informed about those occupations and the potential that's out there. This program evaluation form, you'll notice I just have general out there, and that's exactly what it is. You'll notice here it's got a date or a blank for the teacher's name, the campus, the date of the evaluation, and so forth. So you could change this around. I mentioned earlier about when we were looking at that health science technology document, how it talked about having a team to evaluate the program. You could distribute one of these to each of your team members. Again, with this rating on here, it lends itself to being put into a SurveyMonkey format or a Google Docs format, a Google form. The explanation of the indicator levels up here leaves something to be desired as far as I'm concerned. That's kind of tough. What meets quality to one person may not meet quality to another person, so you may need to expand on that a little bit. But just a general type document that you can use to give you some ideas. Take it, here's the Word document for it if you want to copy and paste it or modify it however you want to fit your own situation. You are more than happy to do that. Another CTE program evaluation form, very similar to what we just saw, but this one here asks for the following attachments. So you see there, lesson plans, kind of some professional development activities, your CTE student organization, student rosters, maybe some different flyers for promoting their program, whatever. But again, just asking for some additional information, not just a simple checklist. These are, some of these are pretty much just yes and no answers. You may want to change these answers up a little bit so that the whoever is filling this out has to explain and give a few more details other than just a simple yes or no answer. That way you can gather more information and get a better picture of that particular program. Another document with information about evaluating the quality of CTE programs. This one here has a pretty in-depth explanation about the quality indicators and the different levels. You'll notice the indicators over here on the left. So just a little different format on this one. But an item that might be worth your while and worth the time spent going through here to get some ideas about the areas that you want to take a look at. The 21st Century Skill Evaluation. This one just gives information about, or actually just lists out the 16 21st century employability skills and some of those examples. And it goes through here. This just has a 1, 2, and 3 scale, but again gives a description of each of those quality indicators. So you share that with your teachers. This is something, to me, these are pretty much soft skills that we talk about quite a bit. And this is an area where your non-CTE teachers can tie in with CTE teachers and help support that workforce development, because your non-CTE teachers need help with this also. They can help you, the students. They can share this information with students, and they can tell them, hey, we're going to work on attitude this week, or we're going to work on active listening. We're going to do some work with teamwork, whatever the case may be. But all of these can fit into a non-CTE classroom. And that's why I really like this information, and I encourage you to share it with all teachers on your campus. You can even start this down at the elementary levels. Obviously it's not going to look the same as it does at the high school level, but with them talking about appearance and attendance and teamwork, active listening, self-control. So please share this with teachers throughout your district. You'll notice there's a Word document. Again, you can download that, customize it however you see fit. Workforce development, self-evaluation. You'll notice I am not ashamed to steal a good idea when I see it. This was one that Bernie ISD put out, had posted on their website. And so I downloaded it. It's kind of the same type of deal. This one here, it has the 4-point scale, if you will, on the quality, and goes into each of those little boxes and gives you a description of that. It's a pretty handy little document there. Again, a Word document if you want to change it up. And then that same type of document, but with all the descriptions taken out. And so you could go in and put a check mark in there, or mark those areas wherever you think that particular one falls. This could be used as even as a grade for students, maybe as a weekly grade or one grade of 6 weeks or something on their soft skills development, either in a CTE course or in a non-CTE course. Several people that I have talked to said they use these for career prep and practicum courses, and the supervisor out at the work site will fill out a form very similar to this on the particular student. So that's a way that you might be able to use these particular documents. A student evaluation, we saw a document like this earlier with the I think it was for a business partner to complete at the end of the year. Here's a way for you to gather information from CTE students, or maybe non-CTE students. Maybe if you can um, pull a list of students that did not take a CTE course this particular year and devise some type of survey to send to them and figure out why is it that they did not take a CTE course. Is it that there's just nothing they're interested in? Did it just not fit in their schedule? Whatever. But that may be more helpful to you instead of always surveying, the CTE students and, figuring out what you can change for your CTE program. Well, what do you need to change to entice more of those other students to take those particular courses? Again, the Word document where you can download and modify. Same type of document here, but meant for parents. So you get an idea of what some of those statements are that would go out to parents and get you some feedback from them. A teacher evaluation form. Some of these, again, you may want to separate between having, you may want to change some of the statements up a little bit on a survey that goes to your CTE teachers versus one that goes to your non-CTE teachers. If you have one that goes to high school teachers and middle school teachers, again, you may want to change the wording up a little bit on the ones that go out to them. But gather information from your teachers. Your career cluster evaluation, if you're in a district where you have maybe several business teachers or several ag teachers, get together and maybe pool their resources and maybe they work together as a team on one like this. Here they have an opportunity to express their ideas about how they would improve the program. Let them dream here. What is it that they would want? Instead of just, this is kind of a very generic statement, I would do the following to improve the program. Maybe ask them, what would this program look like in 3 years? What will it look like in 5 years? 10 years, whatever. Get them to think long range and ask them not just about courses being offered, maybe possibly the equipment that they see, maybe new changes within the industry. Encourage them to stay on top of that, not just be worried about the TEKS in the courses that they're teaching, but also encourage them to watch that industry and see what's going on in the industry to which those courses lead into. So that way they can stay informed and give good information and pass along good information to the students. This last tab here is a safety guide for career and technical education. Again, a rather lengthy document. However, you'll notice that it touches on several different areas. If I remember right, this is over a 400-page document. That is correct. So here is when you're talking about general shop safety, some of the equipment that you'll use in culinary arts, if you have graphic arts or maybe a print shop type program, you may want to look at some of those. Construction, wood trades, some safety ideas there. Metal trades, some different types of equipment that you would see there. It's some if you have a small engines class or an auto tech program where you're working with different areas in the transportation industry, and then just some general safety practices. Take a look at that and maybe have your teacher also sit down with you at some of those and see how those safety guidelines fit, or how the area in which they're working and teaching, how it fits the safety guidelines. You may find that you need to do some updating in that particular area. All right, we have worked our way through all of the tabs in this particular live binder. It's a lot of resources, it's a lot of information, and just work your way through. Again, if you feel overwhelmed by it and want to bounce some ideas off me, please don't hesitate to give me a call. We can set up a time I can come out and visit with you and work with you on taking some of this information and picking and choosing and boiling it all down to where we end up with some evaluation tools that can be used specifically for your program in your district. I'll be more than happy to spend time with you uh, working on those. Again, here is my contact information. There's my phone number, fax, and of course a quick link right there to email. But my email address is just aknight@esc7.net. Thanks for joining me today. I hope this has given you some insight into program evaluation for CTE. And again, if you find something else that's handy, please. I'm always looking for new information. If it's something that would fit great in that live binder, please send it to me and I'll be more than happy to put it in there so that way we can share it with all of Region 7. Hope you have a great day and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.